Good morning. I'll call our March 19th Nash County Board of Commissioners to order at this time. I do wish to apologize to the people in the audience and the board for being a few moments late. I had one of my wintertime, too much information for you, but one of my wintertime nosebleeds right before I left, and when you're on blood thinner and blood pressure medicine like I am, it takes a while to get that corrected, so I do apologize. Our first thing on our agenda, of course, is always to start the meeting with an invocation. Our board likes to do that with one of the commissioners, and during this time, you're welcome to stand and join us in the prayer. You're welcome to have your own prayer as you sit, and you're welcome to have a moment of silence, whichever you prefer. And at this time, I'll call on our new commissioner, Sue Leggett, for the invocation. Morning.
Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've made. We thank you for this opportunity to gather here and conduct the business of Nash County. We ask for your blessings for all those who are present here, for those who are represented, and for those who are unable to attend, and mostly the citizens of Nash County as a whole. Lord, we ask your presence here to give us grace, knowledge, and wisdom. These things we ask in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're now on item 4 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes. Last month, we had only one meeting, which was on February the 4th. If you have any corrections or additions to the minutes, we'll hear those at this time. Otherwise, we'll hear a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Second. Have a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Combs to approve the minutes. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries and minutes stand approved. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda, item number 5, is for public comments. This is a time that our board has each of our meetings in this room at the first of the month to hear from anyone in the public that wishes to speak about any item otherwise not covered on the agenda. We have several public hearings this morning. If you're involved in one of those, we would ask that you wait until that public hearing comes up on the agenda. We do have a sign-up period out front, and if you happen to miss that, I'm not a real stickler on that, and you're welcome to, at the end of the ones that signed up, come forward and identify yourself, and we'd certainly still like to hear from you. This morning, we had one person to sign up, which is a Marvin Winstead Jr. Mr. Winstead, you are here, I see, and good morning, sir. Hadn't seen you in a while. Good morning. Understand you want to talk to us about maybe sweet potatoes or something. I'm not sure what this morning.
Not quite.
Not quite, but thank you for being here.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to be here and speak. Some of you may remember that I've been here before along with some other people, and we are impacted landowners who are against the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. I stand to lose quite a bit if it comes through my property. As an outcome of our being here before, the Commission has taken a stance of neutrality on the ACP. I have recently heard some rumors, and I hope that's all they are, that the Commission was considering changing that stance and adopting a resolution of support for the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. I sincerely hope that the Commission will not do that. Let me break from that just a minute. Earlier this week, I stopped by our Manager Lamb's office and left 2 reports which he has copied and sent to each of you. I hope you will find the time to read these. These are very informative reports. The titles pretty much.
Last night, Mr. Winston.
Okay. One of them is The Vanishing Need of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and the other is Pipeline to Nowhere, Dominion's Atlantic Coast Pipeline. One of the things that's especially good about this report is not only does it find the problems and faults of the pipeline, it gives positive alternatives to it. Really what it boils down to is the Atlantic Coast Pipeline will do for this region, will do the exact opposite of what they say it will. It will not promote economic growth for this region. It will hold it back for another 20 or 30 years. Whereas if we implement the renewable resources and other opportunities that would come our way because of the resources that are in place now. We could obtain some economic development that the pipeline will not bring to us. Do hope you'll find time to read those. And by the way, I know the authors of both of these reports. I know especially in the case of Dr. Tabor, if the county would like to talk with her in person, I think I can make arrangements for her to come here and answer any questions you might have. But back on the neutrality, I would encourage the commission to stay neutral. Down in Robeson County, they have recently experienced problems. Very early on, they endorsed the pipeline. They passed a resolution of support for it. Now they're in a position where they need to pass a permit to support some infrastructure for the pipeline, a metering and regulation station. Now they are being challenged. There's a court case going on because the plaintiffs in that case are maintaining that because the commission endorsed the pipeline, that they are not neutral, and therefore they cannot hold a quasi-judicial hearing to authorize a permit. So now they've at least got tremendous legal expenses for a lawsuit that they're faced with, whereas if they had been neutral all along, they would not have to be confronted with this lawsuit at this time. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weston. I don't generally comment, but I will tell you that this board did take a neutral position on it. At that time, I stated that that was the position of the board, and it would remain that way unless I heard from a board member that wished to change that. And as of this morning, I have not been approached by another board member to change that position. So as far as we're concerned, we will remain neutral at this time until I hear from a board member. Thank you, sir. Anyone else that did not sign up that wishes to speak this morning in the public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6, which is a quasi-judicial public hearing to amend the site plan for conditional uses on a property at 3091 South NC Highway 58. And I will call on Adam Tyson, our planning director. First time I've called him that. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. This is the first of 2 planning items on your agenda this morning. The subject property.
Excuse me 1 minute, Adam. Good.
Yeah.
Did you have a question, Mr. Bell?
Was that or just a misstatement? Is 581, is that, I think you said 58?
If I did, it was indeed a mistake. It's 3091 South NC Highway 581.
All right, okay.
Excuse me, sir, if I did. Excuse me, Mr. Tyson.
No problem. The subject property is outlined in red on your screens. It is a 5.77 acre portion of a larger tract of land owned by Philip L. Murray and Brian Keith Murray. It's located south of the town of Spring Hope. This portion of the property was rezoned by the commissioners in April 2010 from A1 to RCCU, specifically for the development of the Spring Hope mini storage facility. And that is what it looks like on the zoning map. You can see the hashed red area there is the boundary of the commercial zoning. The initially approved site plan included a fenced gravel outdoor storage area containing 2 self-storage warehouse buildings. The site plan was later amended by this board twice, once in December 2012 to add a 3rd building, and again in February 2016 to add a 4th self-storage building. So they've obviously been very successful with their operation. You can see all 4 existing buildings in the aerial photo right there. The site continues to be located adjacent to and across the highway from several existing rural residences. You can see the nearest residence here at 3165, and then some additional residences across the road on the west side of Highway 581. The property owner has now submitted a request to again revise the approved site plan in order to further expand that gravel area toward the north to accommodate the construction of a 5th building. And so that is the proposed site plan. You can see the existing fenced compound, and what is highlighted in yellow would be the expanded gravel area to the north and the 5th building shown right there. The land development plan designates the subject property as suburban growth area where significant residential growth is anticipated to occur. You'll recall that anytime we look at a rezoning, we consult the land development plan as well as making an analysis as to whether it would be spot zoning. In this case, this board has already previously determined that this facility is consistent with the recommendations of the plan for a number of reasons. The first being that the site has frontage along and direct access to South NC Highway 581, a major state highway. The self-storage warehouse operation is fairly low intensity as far as the commercial land use, does not generate excessive noise or heavy traffic. The operation does not require any water supply or wastewater disposal facilities. The scale of the commercial development is restricted by the nature of the conditional use site plan review process. And what I mean by that is anytime they want to make a substantial change, like this morning, they're required to first go through the planning board for a review and then to come to this board for an approval. And so that process restricts them from being able to do too much without the consent of the county. And the initial rezoning of the subject site was consistent with Nash County's efforts to support ongoing sustainability and diversification for farms that experience declining income as a result of tobacco buyouts. The site plan request would not be considered spot zoning because it doesn't propose any changes to the zoning classification. It will continue to be RCCU, conditional use, and the outer boundary, the red area, everything that's happening is happening within that existing boundary. So it is no change to the boundary or the classification, and therefore cannot be considered spot zoning. The Technical Review Committee considered this site plan amendment on February 1st and recommended approval subject to suggested conditions. The Planning Board considered the site plan amendment request on February 18th. No members of the public other than the applicant spoke for or against the request, and the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend, number one, approval of consistency statement A, which finds the request to be reasonable, in the public interest, consistent with the recommendations of the land development plan, and not spot zoning. Number two, the Planning Board recommended approval of the requested site plan amendment. And number three, approval of the issuance of a conditional use permit. So this will be a three-motion process. First, to adopt the consistency statement. Second, to actually approve or deny the site plan amendment request. And then third, if the second motion is for approval, you would proceed with the issuance of a conditional use permit. The last pages of the report in your packet or in your agenda list some suggested findings of fact regarding the case. I would also remind the board that by approving the conditional use permit, you're concluding that, one, the proposed development will not materially endanger the public health or safety. It will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property. It will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and will be in general conformity with the land development plan. Also, the very last section of the report outlines the proposed conditions. And these are very similar to the conditions that have been applied to this property since its initial rezoning in 2010. The use of the property will continue to be limited to a self-storage warehouse facility only. The property can only be developed in accordance with the approved site plan. And prior to the construction of the fifth warehouse, the planning department will need to issue a stormwater permit, a zoning permit, and a commercial building permit. Mr. Murray is here this morning to represent the application, and we'll hear from him after you open the public hearing. And before we do that, I'll be glad to take any questions that you might have.
Any questions from commissioners, from Mr. Tyson at this time? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into a public hearing, or quasi judicial public hearing, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Leggett. Second by Ms. Richardson. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear this conditional use rezoning change, and quasi means that anyone that wishes to speak for or against it will need to be sworn in by our attorney. And what I'd like to do is anyone that's here that wishes to speak for or against all come up together, and we will swear you in, and then we'll hear from you individually. Anyone here wishes to speak this morning?
Put your left hand, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
You will state your name and address for the record. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Keith Murray of Murray Farms Incorporated. My brother's not able to be here with us this morning. He had shoulder surgery and is doing rehab today, so he's having more fun than I am.
I expect.
As you see, we're looking to add a fifth building. I'm sitting right now at 100% occupied. I never thought this business would flourish to this point. Obviously, we've not met the demand for the area yet, and we would like to expand one more building. If y'all have any questions, I'll be free to answer.
All right. Any questions of Mr. Murray? None from commissioners, Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, Adam, there may be a reason for this, but it seems like this is the fourth time this has come up, every time he adds one building. Is there anything in the ordinance that allows him to do 2 or 3 at a time?
He could.
Even if he doesn't build them right now?
It could, and we had that discussion with him at the start of this process, but this was the only one he wanted to propose right now.
And I'll be glad to answer the reason why.
Thank you.
I have to put land into a conservation reserve
Okay,
for that, and that's forever. So if I don't have to do that, then I don't put that land into that conservation reserve that my kids and their kids can never do anything with.
I understand. Thank you.
Well,
Mr. Belfield?
if it's in conservation reserve, it's for a period of years, and wouldn't it soon run out?
This is, what he's referring to has to do with stormwater rules, and it has to do with the amount of impervious surface. But the type of conservation easement we're talking about is a perpetual conservation easement. It doesn't have a limited term on it.
What he's allowed to do, Mr. Belfield, because he's creating more impervious area, he's allowed
Yeah,
to set land
I
at another
understand
site.
that, But it's for a period of years, right?
No, it's indefinite.
It's in
Perpetuity.
We do it all the time in construction.
Okay.
And that
Any other-
conservation easement is actually on this same piece of property.
It is.
But it's outside the zoning
Yes.
area.
Right. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? I think not, since we didn't swear you in. All right, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time. So moved. Moved by Commissioner Outlaw,
Second.
second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Wishes of the board, it will take 3 actions to process this. First one we need to do is a motion to adopt the consistency statement.
I make a motion to adopt consistency statement A.
Have a motion by Commissioner Leggett for Commissioner Statement A, a second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Now we need to call for a motion to approve or deny the site plan as amended. Ms. Leggett,
A motion to approve the site plan.
have a motion to approve the site plan. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Seeing none, motion carries. And then we have a motion to authorize issuance of, well, I don't have a motion on that sheet. Anyway, the third sheet, the third motion we need is to authorize issuance of the conditional use permit.
So moved.
Okay. It is in your district, dear.
Yes.
Motion by Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion?
And just a clarification, that would be subject to the findings of fact, conclusions, and conditions that are listed in the report, with no revisions.
That would be okay with the motioner?
Yes.
That is correct. You okay, Commissioner
Yes.
Richardson? Okay. Motion is as Mr. Tyson stated. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. If you'll stay right there. Mr. Murray, looks like we got you ready to go for your next building, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Be glad to have you come back later if you wish. Item number 7 is another quasi judicial hearing on a conditional use rezoning request this time. It's on 1.5 acres at Sandy Cross Road from R40 to general commercial conditional use. And it's for a general merchandise retail store. Mr. Tyson?
So this one is a new rezoning. The property, as you stated, is a 1.58 acre portion of 2 tracts of land. You can see it outlined in red on the screen here. The majority of it comes from this large agricultural tract, with a small portion of it coming out of the side yard of this home at 3608 Sandy Cross Road. The 2 properties are owned by Sidney Pete Joyner and Gary Lynn Cockrell. They're located south of the town of Nashville on the north side of Sandy Cross Road and west of the Sandy Cross Crossroads in the R40 Single Family Residential Zoning District. So this is the Sandy Cross Crossroads, which is of course Highway 58 and Sandy Cross Road. The site is located directly between the L&L convenience store, which is here at 5862, and that adjacent residential dwelling owned by the applicant at 3608. It's also directly across Sandy Cross Road from another existing residence at 3635. The site has access to an existing 12-inch Nash County public water line located along Sandy Cross Road right-of-way, but it does not have access to any existing sewer service, so any development will utilize a private on-site septic system. That is the zoning map, and you can see that 2 corners or 2 quadrants of the crossroads are already zoned commercial. That's the L&L there, and this is the La Posada Mexican Grill on this corner. And then the property outlined in red is what is up for consideration for commercial zoning this morning. The property owners have submitted this request to rezone the area from R40 to GCCU, General Commercial Conditional Use, specifically for the development of a general merchandise retail store. And if I refer to this site plan, which was included in your agenda, you can see that the clear intention is for that store to be operated by the Dollar General Corporation. Now, the rezoning would not be specific to the Dollar General Corporation. It would be for a general merchandise retail store as a general land use category. But in this particular case, that is the proposed operator. The site plan includes a 9,100 square foot retail store, which is highlighted in yellow here, along with a 45-space paved parking lot that wraps around the building and is in front of the building. This is Sandy Cross Road here. The area to the east of the store is reserved for that on-site septic system that I mentioned. That would be in this corner. And then there is a stormwater bioretention pond proposed in the back left corner here to handle the stormwater. It will control and capture the runoff created by the first inch of a rainfall event as required by the stormwater rules. There are screening requirements anytime a commercial use is immediately adjacent to a residentially used or zoned property, and those requirements are satisfied on the second sheet that you have there, which is the landscape and screening plan. They'll be satisfied by a 6-foot-high opaque wooden slatted fence to be installed along the northern and western boundaries of the store, directly adjacent to the surrounding residentially zoned properties. The pink line represents that 6-foot opaque slatted fence for screening purposes. That'll be along the left side and the rear. And then, of course, it is not required along this property line because that's the commercially zoned L&L convenience store. Also, there will be a planted screening buffer along the Sandy Cross Road frontage that will consist of a mixture of understory trees and evergreen shrubs. That is where the green is highlighted on the front left corner, and then across the front. Obviously, it needs to be interrupted for the access drive to pull in and out of the property. But that is to provide some screening on the front side, not as intensive as the wooden slatted fence on the other sides, but of course there is the interest in keeping the store visible from the road frontage. The land development plan already designates this property as part of an existing area previously identified by the commissioners for rural commercial development at the Sandy Cross Crossroads. So where you see the red area, those are the parcels that have been defined in the land development plan as being targeted for commercial development. And so basically, the plan has set the stage for this commercial rezoning already. The site we're considering is outlined in blue there. And then that's the L&L, that's the La Posada Mexican Grill. The plan includes these types of developments at key road intersections where small-scale commercial services are already present, and where the development of additional commercial services that don't necessarily require public sewer and are intended to serve a local rural customer base, such as this store, should be encouraged. The conditional use rezoning request would not be spot zoning, because if I can refer back to the zoning map, you'll be reminded that it is already immediately adjacent to an existing commercially zoned piece of property. And the request, as we just mentioned, is consistent with the recommendations of the land development plan. And again, the conditional use nature of the request and the screening measures that we talked about, the fence and the plantings, will limit the potential impact of the development on the surrounding area. The TRC reviewed this proposal on February 1st and recommended approval subject to suggested conditions. The planning board considered the request on February 18th. In addition to the applicant, one member of the public, the owner of a nearby property, and a member of the Sandy Cross United Methodist Church, which is located on the southeastern quadrant of the intersection, spoke in favor of the request. No one was present to speak in opposition to the request. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of consistency statement A, finding the request to be reasonable in the public interest, consistent with the land development plan, and not spot zoning. They recommended approval of the zoning map amendment and approval of the issuance of a conditional use permit. This will again be the same three-motion process as the previous item. I'll remind you again about the conclusions that the board will be making with the issuance of the conditional use permit, and that will be that the proposal will not materially endanger the public health or safety, will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property. It will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located, and will be in general conformity with the land development plan. The last section of your report outlines the conditions that would apply. Of course, as mentioned, the development of the property will be limited to a general merchandise retail store only. The site plan will govern how the site is developed. Prior to the development of the property, you'll recall that this red area is made up of portions of two separate lots. And so there will need to be a recombination survey plat and the requisite deeds to transfer the ownership of this strip right here so that the developer can own everything inside the red box as a single tract of land. I believe that this lot is going to acquire some land on the backside in order for it to remain at the minimum required lot size. So there are some land transactions that will need to take place prior to construction. The City of Rocky Mount has asked that the developer coordinate with their Public Utilities Department regarding the relocation or installation of electrical and natural gas utilities, which they provide for this area. And then the report outlines the other documents and permits that will be required prior to construction, a DOT driveway permit, and encroachment agreements. I believe the DOT has asked the developer to make some improvements to the road right-of-way of Sandy Cross Road for that driveway permit, and the applicant can go into more detail with that. There'll be an erosion and sedimentation control plan to be approved by the state, and then again by Nash County, a stormwater permit, an on-site wastewater permit, a zoning permit, and a commercial building and trade permit. Mr. Brent Purdom with Triangle Site Design is present this morning. They are the designers of the site plan, and he's here to represent the application and answer any questions during the public hearing. And before we do that, I'll take any questions you may have for the staff.
Commissioners, questions of Mr. Tyson this time?
Isn't a portion of that area on the western side of it farmland?
Yes. This box right here is a residential lot, but the L-shaped piece, which the majority of the Dollar General site is coming out of, is all currently agricultural cropland.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Tyson. At this time, I call for a motion to go into a quasi judicial public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bellfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in a quasi judicial public hearing, and as before, if you wish to speak for or against this particular agenda item number 7, we ask that you come forward at this time to be sworn in by our attorney. And when you speak, we just ask you to state your name and address for the record. Mr. Durham?
You could put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. I'm Brent Purdom with Triangle Site Design, and I'm here today just to see if you guys have any questions that I can answer for this project. Like Mr. Tyson said, we've already gone through a large process with NCDOT and DEQ for stormwater and erosion control. All of these plans are actually already in review, and we've already received comments. So if you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
All right. Any questions of the applicant by board members?
I had a question, a little bit clarification about one of the designs that was included in our packet. Will there actually be some road construction that happens in the area, like a widening of the road right there?
Yes, ma'am. We are required to put in a left turn lane,
Okay.
so that's part of DOT's review. And I have that if you need to see that as well, if you kind of want to see it.
I think it was included in our packet.
Okay. They have that.
Other questions? That it, Ms. Leggett?
That's all.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So
We
moved.
close the public hearing.
Have a motion by Commissioner Leggett, a second, Mr. Bellfield.
I was making the motion, but I'll second it.
Okay, well, actually, you both started together. It's her district, which I generally give priority on, but I have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. As Mr. Tyson stated, we again would have 3 items we need to have a motion on and adopt. The first item would be a motion to adopt the consistency statement.
So moved. I make a motion to adopt consistency statement A.
That includes those items Mr. Tyson read, I presume?
Correct.
Okay. I have a motion to adopt consistency statement A with the items listed. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second, by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any, opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. The second motion we would need, would be to approve or deny the zoning map amendment.
I make a motion to approve the zoning map amendment.
I have a motion to approve the zoning map amendment by Commissioner Leggett. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. And then the third item we need would be a motion to authorize the issuance of a conditional use permit with the items listed below it.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Leggett. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioners Bellfield and Richardson at the same
I
time.
yield to Ms. Richardson.
Okay. Got motion from the right end of the chairman. How about that? A second to the motion. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. So, guess that clears that one up, Adam?
It does. We're finished.
Allows them to start. That's great. We'll move on to item, everybody okay? Keep moving? Move on to item number 8, which is a resolution supporting Juvenile Crime Prevention Council allotment expansion. And looking at my notes, Commissioner Outlaw, I noticed you had some questions on this one. Did they get,
I've had a discussion with the manager, I'm good.
okay, all right. It says that you're gonna present this, Mr. Lamb. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Okay. As most of you know, in 2017, the General Assembly changed the juvenile age for juvenile jurisdiction to include 16 and 17-year-olds as juveniles. I do want y'all to know that for serious crimes, the state can always charge juveniles as adults, as they do now for 14 and 15-year-olds. But what this did was put us where the other 49 states are. 18 years old is an adult, 17 and younger is normally treated as a juvenile. As a result of that, we've been informed that they're going to double the number of juvenile probation officers. And so what the JCPC is saying is, in this resolution that they've requested, is that for the last 9 years, we've been getting the same amount, $240,814 for Nash County, which we combine with Edgecombe, and have a joint JCPC committee, which Mr. Belfield serves on. What they're saying is, with the increase in juvenile cases, officers, delinquency cases, that they would like to see the General Assembly increase that amount. The county match is 20%, so if they do increase it, we will be paying 20% of any increase unless they choose to change that percentage, which is always possible.
But unexpected.
But it's not expected at this time. So they've requested that we approve this resolution and send it to Raleigh, asking that more funds be allocated for juvenile JCPC programs. If there's any questions?
Question by commissioners? Only what I'd have, did it have any amount of the request to increase, or is just an open request?
It did not give us a specific amount that they want to, or percentage they want to increase it across the state.
Okay. Pleasures of the board?
I move that we pass the resolution.
All right, have a motion to approve the resolution and a second. Mr. Belfield, Ms. Richardson, any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Yeah. But that budget has been pretty constant for, I know, a good 10 years. It just has moved. We've been trying to get more, and to get more agents, groups, organized groups involved in juvenile crime prevention. But the legislature just kept it flat.
Well, I'd suggest, Mr. Belfield, we bring that up when we meet with them next week, if you wish to.
Good.
Being a board member. All right, we'll move on then. Item number 9, which is a resolution to support the current ABC control system, which came from our local administrator, Mike Murray, called me and talked to me about this, and I just had him to get with staff and supply a sample of what the resolution should look like. It says that you're going to present this to Mr. Lamb. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, every 3 or 4 or 5 years, this issue comes up. I believe most states have private sale of liquor and whiskey and things like that. And in North Carolina, of course, we have the ABC system. which is a control system. And every once in a while, they'll start talking about privatizing it, and what the State ABC Boards Association and the local ABC Board is requesting is that we support this resolution to continue the current policy, the current structure of county-based ABC stores, rather than privatizing the sale of liquor. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Question
Well,
from the
I
board?
see, Mayor,
Mr. Boyd, Belfield?
I see, if we go in the other direction, that it's gonna become so political. If you privatize it, somebody that's already established and someone else want to put one right next, that's close to them that they feel will cut some of their customers off, then politics get into it. That happened in nursing homes, and I know from experience, I was one time involved in politics shut us out, saying that you have enough nursing homes in the Rocky Mount, Nash County, Twin County area, and wouldn't even let us have an application. I see the same thing coming in this direction. I think that you need to keep control under the ABC system as it is now, because that could happen. And I've noticed, one thing I've noticed in New Jersey, you see, and they have it privatized, and you see a store right across the street from another. I don't know about whether they have any political confrontations on it, but I can see this, since we've been this way for such a long time, ABC system, I can see it happening. Because it happened with the incident I'm telling you about. It happened here in Nash County, and later on, another nursing home was built right near another one, but they used politics to keep us. Basically, this was an African-American group trying to establish a nursing home, and they stopped us in the track.
Understood.
And I could see it happening
Sure.
with ABC stores privatized.
Other comments from board members?
Yeah, yes. The only thing you really need to know about this resolution is if you support privatization, which I don't, then that would lead to significantly more consumption. We consume enough, I don't, but we consume enough as a people now without giving them opportunity to consume more.
Commissioner Outlaw?
I agree with that.
All right. Other comments? Seeing none, pleasure of the board.
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Outlaw to approve the resolution.
I will second it.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Firstly, know we've had a little bit of issues, as is done in some areas of the state, but to my knowledge, we've never had an issue whatsoever in Nash County, and I think it's always been run very well here, so it seems like I haven't heard any negative news for quite a while, so maybe the whole state has got to doing business like they should be doing business. We're now on item number 10, which is bid result for an HVAC and lighting project for the Ag Center. Mike Phillips is to present this. Mike, good morning, sir.
Good morning, y'all. Bear with me, I might be a little raspy this morning.
Understood, sir.
We've recently began taking bids for certain projects at the Nash County Ag Center. Two of those including the HVAC system, replacement of the HVAC system, and an LED lighting project. The LED project will include replacing over 300 lights in the Ag Center, as well as a dimmer control system in the auditorium. And the HVAC project will be replacing 7 air handler units and some of the controls at the Ag Center. Those bids have come in. The lowest one we received for the LED project was Fintron X. The total bid amount was $44,784, and there is an available Duke Energy credit of $10,100, which will bring the total cost to $34,684. And then the lowest bid we received for the HVAC replacement was from All Red Mechanical Services. After negotiations, you can see the total revised bid amount is $281,725. At this time, staff is recommending the commissioners to approve these bid proposals and authorize the county manager to execute a contract with each vendor.
All right. Any questions of Mr. Phillips on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure everybody's got a copy of the handout that came in this morning,
I think they're all looking at it.
March 7th.
Yeah.
Everybody's got it? Okay.
Mr. Boone, would you mind coming up to the podium just a second, sir? I just realized that this is your first commissioner meeting, and I know you have worked on this. I'd like to ask the manager to introduce Mr. Boone to the Board of Commissioners and the audience.
Great. We're very pleased to have had Mr. Jonathan Boone come to work with the county on February the 11th. Most of you know him. He has worked, he's a native of Nash County, and he has worked in Rocky Mount for over 20 years, and we feel very fortunate to get him on board. So he's our new, he wears a lot of hats, county engineer, though that's not in his title. He's public facilities and utilities director. But the one thing about that position is we do require that it be a engineer, and of course Jonathan fits that, being a Wolfpack and having gone to NC State Engineering School. But Jonathan, we welcome you. He's hit the ground running, and we really look forward to working with you.
Right, I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
Thank you,
Look forward
sir.
to working with you.
Any questions of Mr. Phillips on this? And I'd just like to say, again, I said it back in our year review for last year, the job that Mr. Phillips has done since he has been with us. He came in a capacity to work under our, whatever Mr. Lamb just said the title of Mr. Boone was. I call him the county engineer, but, and has done an absolutely wonderful fill-in job while we did not have anybody. I know we worked him probably 20 hours a day, but I do appreciate the job that he did as well. And I'm sure he's glad to get some help on board as well to lighten his load just a little bit. But with that said, if there are no questions, I do, Mike, if you don't mind, I would like to just make the commissioners aware that we did only receive one bid on the mechanical part of this. We did have a preliminary estimate. It was an informal bid. We had a preliminary estimate going into it after we did the preliminary engineering, and this falls within just a little bit under that preliminary estimate. So I personally do not like awarding bids, particularly this amount of money with one bid, but we made sure at least 5 different contractors were made aware of it. Everybody is busy in our industry right now, and so only All Red, which does quite a bit of work for the county and is located in Nash County, provided that proposal, but it did fall within the preliminary engineering estimates that we had done. So I feel comfortable that we've got a very good bid. We are in a time crunch to get this done, as we all know, because we need to get that building back open. And staff is working on the things that will come behind this, as well as some cabinetry work, painting work, and numerous other things, new appliances. So I think you'll be well pleased when we get to the end of this process. But I don't have any reservations about awarding it with just the one bid we received. I think if we went back out again, we probably most likely would not receive another bid because they had ample opportunity. We had a pre-bid meeting, asked them all to be there, et cetera. So we've done due diligence in getting competitive bids, and we have a competitive bid, but I didn't want the commissioners to realize later that it was only one person that bid it, and I, as chairman and somewhat involved in the process, had that knowledge. But with that said, I would entertain a motion at this time from a board member for the recommendation to approve these two bids.
Mr. Chairman, I'll
Yes,
make
sir.
a motion we approve these two bid proposals and authorize the county manager to execute a contract with each one.
All right, have a motion by Commissioner Combs. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any other questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like. Motion carried. Thank you, sir. And thank both of you for getting us to this point, and we'll certainly move forward. We're trying to finish up everything we need to do there and get our people back in the building. Every time
Mr. Chair.
we, yes, sir, Mr. Bellfield.
Could we have a break? Could we have a break?
We can, sir. At this time, I'd call for a short recess, and is it my understanding, Stacy, that we're gonna take the picture at the end of this recess? Is that what we're doing? That's desired. Okay, we're gonna take a brief recess. Since we have a new board member, we need a new board picture. So they're gonna set up during the break, and then we'll take the picture, and we'll be right back to business. Thank you. Call us back to order at this time. And we're on agenda item number 12, number 11, which is the project ordinance for the Ag Center project. Each time we award bids, we have to find the money to pay for them with, and we have a finance director that does a great job of that. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. This is a capital project ordinance for the Ag Center renovation capital project. So the attached project ordinance is submitted for approval. This project consists of HVAC construction renovation, lighting and electrical upgrades, and various upgrades and repairs to the kitchen, bathrooms, and other interior spaces. The capital project ordinance is for $550,725 and you can see on the breakdown of the different items. Are there any other questions?
That's an item that was at your table. Right. Not on your iPad. Any questions on that? And I'll tell you, these numbers are, except for what we awarded previously, are still estimates. We're still getting prices on some of this, and we may have to make some adjustments. I hope that we can keep the bottom line within what we've got here this morning. Any questions from board members, Ms. Wood, at this time? Seeing none, we're being asked to approve this project ordinance. I'd entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Project ordinance is approved. Item number 12 is budget amendments. Ms. Wood?
Okay, the following budget amendments are being presented for the board's consideration for fiscal year 18-19 and approval. First item is with the fire districts. This budget amendments to budget for the repayment option related to the public safety radio project. It's for Nashville Fire Department, Sharpsburg Fire Department, and Whitaker's Fire Department. They selected the option to appropriate fund balance for the amount owed to Nash County related to the radios and apparatus above the Nash County base. There are no county funds required. For Nashville Fire District, it's $28,595. Whitaker's, $34,004. Sharpsburg, $37,684. The next item is within the Asset Forfeiture Fund. It's budget amendments to budget asset forfeiture revenue received for the purchase of 7 Dodge Chargers for the Sheriff's Office. This includes taxes, tags, lights, and radio equipment. It's $220,500. No county funds are required. The next item is with our capital reserve fund. This budget amendments to transfer the funds from the home health sale, less the restricted cash of $250,000 to the capital reserve fund for future use on a health facility project. As the restrictions are released on the cash, the additional funds will be presented for transfer to $1,750,000. Next item is within the Sheriff's Office. This budget amendment appropriates Nash County's portion of a joint grant application with the City of Rocky Mount, the Justice Assistance Grant, the JAG grant. The Sheriff's Office will use the proceeds for technology improvement items that are designed to increase officers' accountability, increase safety, and provide better services to the citizens of Nash County. No county funds are needed. It's $19,862. The next item is Recreation and Senior Services Department. This amendment is needed to make adjustments to accommodate additional revenues from donations and grant funds. It's $5,500 for senior center donations, $580 for Project Lifesaver, and $3,983 from a Medical Improvement Patient for Provisions Act. A total of $10,063, and no county funds are needed. The next item is Economic Development. This budget amendment appropriates additional funding for the Hospira Incorporated Hospira Pfizer Company inducement for fiscal year 18-19. The calculated incentive refund for Nash County is $928,439. The approved amount that was part of the original county budget ordinance was $636,953. So I'm requesting a fund balance appropriation of $291,486. The next item is the fund balance transfer, and this is associated with the Ag Center capital project. It's to appropriate $550,725 from fund balance to the Ag Center renovation project. Are there any questions?
That item was on our desk here, correct?
They are. I have revised budget amendments.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Any of these need separate approval or all together?
They can be approved altogether.
Okay. And any questions from board members on any of these? It's a lot.
I got just a couple of questions.
Sure.
Sure.
On the
Mr. Outlaw.
second item, asset forfeiture funds, are these replacement or new vehicles?
These are they should be replacement, but I can check with the sheriff's office on that.
Our original budget had 10 vehicles, and this is supplemental to that using federal asset dollars. If they have extra vehicles, they usually allow other departments to utilize them. I'm not sure if they're going to replace all 7 and take those other 7 and give them away. They may be using some of them.
So they are replacement.
Some of them may be replacement. Some of them may continue to be, they may still use the old ones. So these are additional and on top of what they have already. And I think of the 7, they may or may not be replacing all of them. They may keep some of those 7.
Well, that's very clear to me now.
Okay.
I think,
I can,
I'm like Commissioner Outlaw, I'd really like to know the answer to that question. If we are adding X number of vehicles to our fleet, or are they replacement vehicles, is his direct question, I
Yeah,
think.
that's all I want to know.
I think it's a combination. I think,
Then if it is, then just
yeah.
provide that.
Is that
response.
correct?
What we do is we take the high mileage ones out of fleet and, we're replacing the high mileage ones.
So they are all replacements then, is what you're saying?
Are you going to surplus 7 vehicles is
Correct.
the issue?
We're gonna use them. Is that what you're asking? I don't,
What we're asking is, when you get these 7 new vehicles, will you be taking 7 vehicles out of service?
I'm not sure about all 7 out
Okay.
of service.
That's what we need to find out at an appropriate time.
Okay.
I think, Donna, that's something we're gonna always want to know
Sure.
in the future,
Okay.
if we can find that out.
I can find out in just a minute if you want me to.
That'll be fine, and if not, you know, you can let us know when you find out.
The second thing on the next to the last item, economic development, the increase there, how did we miss that so significantly initially?
What happens is we have a 10-year formula that is based on the tax levy, and because of the additions they've done in the last year or two at Hospira, their total tax levy increased, and therefore their, the amount they get as an inducement increased. So that's.
If you recall, Commissioner Outlaw, when Hospira, or now Pfizer, Hospira started the additions, it was several things involved when we approved that first amount.
Yeah.
But since then, they have continued to add equipment, and we've heard at the Gateway Partnership meetings, they've done this much more, this much
I
more.
thought they've done quite a significant amount in just 1 year.
Oh, they have, and therefore.
That we did not
that we did
apparently
not
anticipate.
That's
Right.
correct. They've added to it, so therefore.
Well, that's a good thing.
Oh, it's a good thing.
Yes.
But it's always based on tax paid.
Yeah.
And a predetermined percentage paid back over a 10-year basis.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Wood.
Other questions? I recall, Donna, that there were other departments on the radio thing, item number 1, that did similar things. Do you have other ones coming, or have we already approved some?
These are the only 3 that wanted to use the fund balance option. The other ones will be invoiced, so we had several options for them to choose from, and they wanted to use their fund balance reserve that they had available.
So we're not loaning them the money, they're using their own fund balance?
Right, this is their own fund
I got
balance.
you, okay. I understand it now. Well, we do have
So this
some
is-
that we're actually loaning them the money, or they gonna pay it back over a period of time,
Right.
up to.
As we pay it.
So is this money here coming from their allocation from the tax?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Some of them do not spend all their money each year, and they have a fund balance that's here, and when they come back to want to spend that, once it rolls into fund balance, the board has to approve it. Same way with, say, TDA funded funds. I'm not sure why we have to do that, but I know we get them from time to time. This, Mr. Bellfield, you recall, the board approved a particular radio. Some of them wanted a more expensive radio, therefore they paid the difference.
Right.
And that's what this money is doing, is paying that difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on the, budget amendments? See none, I can entertain a motion to approve them all, or any way a board member wishes to present.
I'll make a motion, we approve them all.
Motion by Commissioner Combs,
A
Second.
second.
second by Commissioner Leggett and Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Just something I ran across. Did you want to address the previous question, which was, is that why you're here, Chief Deputy?
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning.
Yes, so the question, I believe, was regarding 7 vehicles that have been ordered.
That's correct.
Those 7 vehicles will eventually replace 7 vehicles with high mileage in our fleet. We have several that are over 130, 120,000 miles, and the higher mileage they get, the less safer that they are. So they will be replacing eventually, because we don't get them immediately. We get them paced out and within months.
Sure.
So they will be
I
replacing the
think
fleet.
we were just asking, are they replacements, or are they gonna be additional vehicles in the fleet? You're saying they're replacements?
They're replacements, yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right, I think that cleared up, Commissioner Outlaw.
Yes, sir.
We thank you, sir.
I have a
Very,
question.
very good and prompt.
You have a process with finance on the surplus vehicles
Yes.
to identify them in case other departments
Yes, you
need-
should have an Excel spreadsheet with all the vehicles, year, make, model, and mileage.
And you'll notify them when
Yes,
you're
sir.
surplusing a vehicle?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
While you're there, one moment, I want to ask Mr. Lamb something. yesterday I had a meeting in Raleigh, and the board I work on up there, which is Building Code Council, has an attorney from the Attorney General's office there, and he asked me a question about some court case that was apparently lost yesterday concerning forfeitures and the ability for us to continue to use them like we were. Are you familiar with that?
I have heard of that court
Good
case.
for the counties anyway.
It's a U.S. Supreme Court case that came down a couple weeks ago
Okay,
and said that if the amount of money that's forfeited has to have some relation to the crime. You can't take a $50,000 truck when they only were charged with having $300 worth of marijuana. And it's up for a lot of discussion. Nobody knows. It wasn't black and white. It's very gray.
okay.
There's also a state
Well, I didn't
case.
mean to open up a
Yeah.
lot of
Okay, but
stuff.
I'm not familiar with the
Yeah,
truck.
there was a state case 10 years ago that said that civil as well as criminal fines had to be turned over to the school boards, and it was a figure of like $170 million, and in '09, the first year, the state turned over 18 million, but since then, they haven't turned over any, and so they have refiled a new suit to require that back money from the state. And it certainly clarifies that all civil, at the state level, all civil and criminal fines and forfeitures must go to the schools.
Yeah, what he was talking to me about yesterday was the federal.
Federal.
Mr. Chairman, just one more question to the manager. Could we get a current, as of today, vehicle inventory listing by department?
We're updating that for the budget retreat. We can give you the up-to-date information we have.
I just know that a vehicle from the sheriff's department may end up in another department, but would that eventually end up in a request for a brand-new vehicle, which may be needed, or
No.
could we continue to transfer? That's why I'd like to see the inventory, what we have
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, we
What our needs are right now.
Yeah, we generally will transfer to a non-emergency department.
Right.
Older vehicles from the sheriff's department.
I know things just over time,
Yeah.
things tend to evolve, and that's why I'd like to see that inventory.
But eventually, when the transmissions go out and it's, and
But
it's,
every year, the sheriff has replacements.
he does.
So there's always that opportunity to replace that same vehicle in a non-emergency situation with these vehicles.
Yeah, do we have that available yet?
We do.
From last year or this year?
As of January 30th, I have.
Great, that's great.
Yeah, we'll get it to you.
Thank you.
Doesn't at some point that those vehicles become surplus and put on the market for,
That's right.
well, you don't wait till the transmission or anything like that give out, do you?
Often we do. Often, when we surplus them, to repair them usually costs more than they're worth. But for emergency purposes, they need to get new ones quicker than, say, the water department or some other.
Probably, to get in that condition, nobody want them but the Savage, the place where they can sell parts off of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief Deputy.
Thank you, sir.
From now on, we will finish with you, Ms. Wood, on budget amendments. Anything else? Okay, now moving on to board appointments, item number 13 on the agenda. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not gonna try. Go ahead.
Okay. We have one appointment for you all to consider this morning for the Need Board of Directors. If you'll recall, last month in February, the board reappointed Marvin Arrington. Upon further investigation into the requirements for this board, it was determined that this appointment needs to be either someone elected to a public role or someone employed by a public entity. Mr. Arrington does not meet these qualifications, therefore his appointment needs to be retracted, and we have a recommendation to place Stacy Schatzer on this board.
Any questions on that from board members? I know I've talked to some of you about it, but I have not discussed it with all of you. Seeing none, I'd ask for approval of this recommendation.
Move for.
Moved by Ms. Richardson, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? And we do still have 2 more appointments that we do not make, but the board can be involved in it. And I've talked to some of you about that. They would be, needs to be one north of Highway 64 as it runs through the county, and one south of 64 as it runs through the county. And we had discussed one already.
Correct.
Where is it currently at? Do we want to talk about that this morning?
I actually have not had a chance
Okay.
to look at Nash County and
Okay,
see
that's
where
fine.
we need to have the other one.
All right, we'll just take care of that a little later then.
Yeah.
Any other appointments this morning?
Nope, that's all.
All right, thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
That gets us to item number 14, which is a monthly tax report. Mr. Wren, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, other members of the board. Yeah, the first item is of course, the monthly tax report, and I'm pleased to continue to be able to report that our taxpayers and our staff are working well together to get the taxes paid. We continue to be on a pace that continues to actually exceed last year's record pace, so very pleased with that. Doing everything we can to continue that pace. So it's looking really good right now. And I appreciate the taxpayers' efforts and the staff as well.
Great report, sir. No action required. I'll move to item number 15, which is tax refunds.
Yes, sir. We just need for you all, if you'll approve the refunds, we can disperse the funds.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve the refunds or answer, Mr. Wren, answer any questions we may have on them.
Motion to approve the refunds.
Motion by Commissioner Bellfield. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Tax refunds stand approved. We'll move on to item number 16, Mr. Wren, which is you as well.
Yes, sir. As each year this time, we have to ask you to establish or set the dates that the Board of Equalization and Review will meet. The statutes, basically, the guidelines suggest that we not have the first meeting any sooner than the first Monday in April and not any later than the first Monday in May. So now, traditionally, or as you have in the past, and this being a non-revow year, we would suggest that you consider having the first meeting on May 6th, and then the second meeting at which you would adjourn on June the 3rd. And of course, when you establish these dates, whatever you determine them to be, we will, of course, advertise them as such ahead of time and on the website as well. At this time, we don't have a lot of activity. We've got some informal appeals, I'm sure, that the staff is working on, but I don't anticipate anything, but that could change.
Okay. Recommendation is to set the Board of Appeals first meeting for May the 6th, and then the closing meeting on June the 3rd, I think you said, Mr. Wren?
Yes, sir.
Correct, and of course, they are regular commissioner meeting dates. Any questions on that, or to entertain a motion to set these dates as recommended by staff?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Dates are set, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Now on item number 17, which is commissioner comments on any item that a commissioner wishes to inform the board on. Any item at this time from a board member?
We got just one or two things.
Yes, sir.
On
Mr.
the
Outlaw.
retreat for the 26th and the 27th,
Mm-hmm.
as far as specifics, I guess we're going to establish that so I can communicate with the Pridgeons as far as use of their facility for the event, food and so forth. I just need to give them some guidelines for setup and so forth. So I would need to get that. I don't need to have it today, of course, but I need probably a week or so in advance.
Yes,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Allo, we have a draft agenda that staff will be reviewing next week.
Okay,
And as
that'd
soon
be
as we
great.
have
That'd be
those
great.
finalized, I'll get all that information
Yeah,
to you.
just a courtesy to them, I want to make sure
Sure.
they know exactly what we're going to be doing.
Absolutely.
The second thing, I had, in front of me, I had this MAT grant program. Is that something we're going to deal with today, or?
I'm going to address it in the
Okay, great.
chairman's report,
Okay,
Mr.
great.
Outlaw.
Okay, good deal. I'm through then. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Mr. Belfield, you have anything?
Well,
Any kind of update
nothing
on
much,
y'all's
but Commissioner Wells and I went to Washington DC for the National Legislative Conference. One of the big emphasis was on counties working together, what impact we can make, and it's the counties that meets the rubber as it hit the road, and that Congress is beginning to recognize that how important county government is, and listening more to the concerns of counties. I attended one workshop that I'd like to share with you on reducing mental illness and opioid
addiction?
I start to use the word addict, but those that have problems with it, that have formed the habit and end up in the jails. And they're urging, and we heard from one area in Texas, it was called the heart of Texas. It's a 5-county area where those 5 counties are working together, and how they have been able to reduce the number of people with mental illness, how they also have been able to get help for these people. And there are grants that you can apply for in order to get this program going, that it wouldn't be such a big financial burden on the counties in making sure that this happens. And I really enjoyed being in that workshop, and I asked a lot of questions. And I just think that we're not at ground zero here. We're beginning, I think the sheriff and others are beginning to make some movement in that direction. But I like the idea of counties working together and getting a lot of things done. And I think this is one that we could do. Now, I attended some other workshops too, but that particular one I wanted to zero in on.
Okay.
And I brought back some tier or two that commissioners can take a look at it.
Okay.
And I also had planned to share it with the sheriff's office also.
Okay. All right, sounds good, Mr. Belfield. Any other commissioners with comments at this time? Seeing none, I would just say on Chairman's report, as Mr. Outlaw just said, we had an item that was on your table when you got here this morning, a little bit concerning what Mr. Belfield just mentioned. It's MAT, Medication Assisted Treatment Program, that we are being asked to look at. I did not feel comfortable addressing it this morning because the full board has not been made aware of it. It's a little bit intense, a little bit of explaining that needs to be done to the board members. Us on the sheriff committee has been made aware of it, but the whole board has not. And Therefore, as chairman, I just elected not to add it to the agenda. I'm a little bit reserved about adding things to the agenda on the spot that the full board has not been privy of the information. And so I won't tell you, I've asked the manager, and what I was discussing with the sheriff employees in the back on break, we're finding out exactly what the time constraint of this is something that we certainly do not want to lose the funding of. It may require me or us to have a call meeting a little bit later in the month, or we may have to have one Monday, Friday. I just don't know the answer to that, but I just don't think we should take it up until the whole board had been made privy of the information and had explained to you very well. So that's just a decision I've made this morning. Mr. Lamb is going to get on it after we adjourn today or recess today, and get back with us and let us know the time sensitivity of it, and then we'll certainly take the action. And the sheriff's committee, I think, is prepared to make a recommendation, but I just won't prepare for it to be added to the agenda this morning. So if you'll just hold that item, the literature that you had laying there this morning, it will come back up very quickly. Ms. Lamb, if you want to add anything to my comments, that's all I had as a chairman's report, and I turn it over to you for manager's report, sir.
Okay, along those lines, we will be meeting with Trillium next Thursday, which is the conduit for this MAT grant, apparently. And we're meeting with them regarding the allocation of Nash County funds for mental health funding. In the old days, we really had no say in where that money went. It was determined by our former LME, but with Trillium, we actually meet with them. We look at the needs across the county for mental health needs. I can tell you, in recent years, you funded a $50,000 a year navigator with Nash UNC Hospital, dealt with helping people that went to detox at Coastal to work with various entities, including the Hope Initiative, to get people in placement. So we anticipate the hospital will again be presenting us with a proposal for $50,000 for a navigator position. The person that was doing that has left them, and they're in the process of identifying a new person to act as that navigator. Of course, UNC Nash Foundation gives us about $150,000 a year for our EMS navigator, so we'll be discussing that position. Last year, you gave some money to Project Hope, I think $10,000. We allocate money for training and school-based programs, and we will take up the MAT proposal, and I'll learn a little bit more from Mr. Peterson, who will be here to meet with us about that. If we find out the MAT application has to be in earlier than next Thursday, we'll let you know. Reminder that tomorrow is the ribbon cutting for the Southern Nash Senior Center in Bailey, and we look forward to that. I believe that's 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. At the end of this meeting, I would ask that we recess rather than adjourn until March 21st at 6 p.m. for the legislative dinner at Nashville Exchange. We have, I believe we've got all three of our legislators committed to come. And we have also invited the community college president and chairman of their board, and the school superintendent and the chairman of their board as a courtesy to come also. And so we look forward to seeing everybody on March 21st. The Commissioners' Retreat is March 26th and 27th at the barn, right before you get to Sharpsburg. It's on your left on 301. It's where we met for the Tri-County breakfast a couple years ago. We still need to identify a date in April to have our joint full board meeting with the school system and community college budget preparation. I did meet with the community college yesterday regarding their request, and that will be presented at the budget workshop, budget retreat. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Did you have a suggested date for that we could agree on this morning?
For the joint meeting
Yes.
with the school board and the
Yes.
community college? We do not have a proposed date. We were gonna ask y'all to come up with 1, 2, or 3 dates, and we'll see if we can get the school folks.
Yeah, okay. I know what we're working against now. You got to have the school folks as well as the community college.
Right.
So we probably need to pick a couple of dates.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about that, Mr. Belfield?
No, I was just going to ask the executive director of the Down East Partnership for Children said to me, we had a meeting last week. She asked me, is it possible that she could attend when we meet our legislative delegation?
It's an open meeting. Anyone can attend. We just gave a special invitation to the superintendent and the community college president. But it is, we're recessing this meeting,
Yeah, I
which is an
did.
open meeting, and it will be an open meeting. Anyone can attend.
Yeah, well, I did tell her I thought she could, and in fact, I told her to come on.
Yeah.
But I thought about it. I said, maybe I better check on that.
No, anyone can attend.
Okay.
Just a comment on the legislative agenda, and I appreciate the fact that the superintendent and the president of the community college are going to be there. Both of those entities have legislative agendas. And I'm not proposing that they speak or do anything like that.
Right.
But would it be appropriate for, through our chairman, to present their agendas to our legislators for their consideration and maybe us to show our support of their agendas?
Outlaw, does either of those entities not have their own type meeting? I think I saw recently that they were scheduled.
They do. I just think if we went together collectively and showed our support of their agenda, it may have some influence, it may not.
Okay. Will we have the agenda ahead of time?
I can provide from Nash Community College, and I'm
Right.
sure that the superintendent could provide it, but I'd like to see their agenda.
Right, that's what
Before I
I'm
would
saying.
know if I could
Well, that's my point.
support
Yes,
it.
sir.
But I think the Nash Community College agenda, you probably could support.
And they do have their own legislative dinner. I think I read recently, do they not?
I think the Nash Community College
Does.
system is kind of evolving. The
Okay.
school system, they've got it.
Okay, okay.
But
okay.
could
Right.
we request those agendas from those people and provide them in advance? And then it would be at the pleasure of our chairman if he felt like it would be appropriate to, I would think that would be a reasonable thing to do.
I'd be glad to do that as long as we had it ahead of time
Yeah,
and
I
the board
understand.
members
Well, I
can give me
understand
feedback.
Everyone would like to read it
Cool.
and look at it and
Gotcha.
understand it.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Lynn, you got that logged in to request those?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Just a couple dates in
Right.
April. I think we've done it on Thursday nights in the past.
That's correct.
And I know the schools always want it to be as late as possible. By statute, they have to formally give it to us by May 15th, but they have been able to provide us with a proposed budget in April in the past, which helps us with our budget preparation. We've got April 25th and April 18th, both Thursdays. I think 11th might be a little bit soon for them.
The 18th is right, I'm out of town on the 18th.
Okay.
Okay,
It's right before Easter weekend.
April,
How about the 25th of April as our number one request?
I got a conflict.
Okay.
And now what time are you talking about?
About 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah, I got a conflict.
How about- And Wednesday's Bible study night, I learned one time, when I proposed a Wednesday night.
Was that when you were a young man, sir? Madam Clerk, just, if you would note, I'm not usually gone this long, but I'm taking my every 3-year vacation in April from the 11th through the 22nd. I would not be available, if you could just note that.
How about the 23rd? Tuesday, the 23rd.
That's fine with me.
Anybody have a conflict with Tuesday, 23rd? Okay, that'll be our first choice. Let's come up with a second choice.
And that's meeting with all three?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Belfield, your 25th, something that's non-negotiable?
Yep.
Okay, just thought I'd ask. How about the 30th then?
That's getting us tight.
Tight, okay.
But that's good. That can be the second choice.
You got some scheduling to do with all you got to get together, you know that.
Need
Yeah.
more than two choices when you go
I
to
agree.
those groups.
Yep.
Okay, 23rd and 30th. Is there a third choice? How about the 29th? A Monday night.
Does it have to be at 6 at night? Can it be earlier in the afternoon, or? I mean, I don't want you to get too late.
Yeah.
29th on a Monday's a good day.
29th on a Monday.
Fine with me, whatever.
And we'll try to get it at no later than 6, but,
That's fine.
okay. So we have 3 dates, 23rd, 29th, and 30th. And we'll work to make one of those.
Emergency, I'll make it work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else have a problem with those 3 dates? We all good? Okay. That completes your report, Mr. Lamb?
Yes, thank you.
All right, you heard him say, when we come back out, for benefit of the press, we will be recessing this meeting to the 21st at 6 p.m. at Nashville Exchange for our legislative dinner. At this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for economic development and matters of attorney-client privileges. I do not expect any action to be taken that I'm aware of, Mr. Lamb.
I don't anticipate.
Okay. If it is, if we do indeed, we will certainly let you know, or you're welcome to stay here as you always are. But I'd entertain a motion at this time to go into closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaws, as second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? All right. Move into closed session at this time after about a 10-minute recess.